we'll start and a few other people join, then that's great. So welcome everybody to, I don't know which report out we're on, but I think we're getting into our 45th or 46th report out. Just for etiquette, if you can be on mute, that really helps. This meeting is recorded. By all means, please use the chat to either make remarks or ask questions or clap or whatever. So it's really great. Please use the interactive buttons while people are speaking, because it really does help reassure people as they go along. We will generally leave questions until each speaker is finished. So if we could observe that. If you're desperate to speak, please use the hand up signal as well, but I'm quite happy to take questions from the chat box. Next slide, please, Bryony. So just remember what we're trying to create here. So we're working on our People First program. It's very much integral to our quality management system in terms of building a culture of improvement around our strategic objectives and the things we want to achieve as a trust. Next slide, please. And so just remember the three things that we try and achieve with teams. One is we want them, wherever possible, to be included in improvement and their suggestions to come to the fore. We'd really like them and all the topics we talk about today to think about the impact on patient care and value for patients, and enabling teams to drive improvement. And of course, one of the greatest way of doing that is make sure we share ideas, which I hope people will get something out of what's happened on all the things you're going to see today. So next slide. I'm not going to do this in detail because I've done it too many times. The next time I will. Just very briefly, these are what we think really help teams make a difference. Clear purpose, being able to test and do simple tests of change on the ward, on any area, not ward, I do apologise, just come from a ward conversation. Have clear metrics that help them see what's going on. Have a meeting several times a week or daily or weekly to help them huddle and improve. And to be reflective about their own team health and psychological safety, which we've created a routine for as well. So we hope that if those conditions people now, so we've got my bottom of mine's missing 6 report outs today. I kind of just remind all speakers that we allow about 6 minutes each, only to cope for questions. I may put a little time on the chat, not to put you under pressure, just be respectful of the other speakers who do it, because otherwise the last person doesn't get to talk. So if we can be respectful of time, and if we don't do all the slides, maybe we'll just talk about some of the questions. But I think most people, I've seen the slides, should be achievable. So with no further delay, I think we've got something from the Cancer Services, so I'll shut up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so first of all, I'll just introduce myself. So my name's Megan Stacey and I'm the Cancer Improvement Manager within Cancer Services. I started this role back in February, but I have been in the trust for just over 9 years now. So what I was going to speak about today is which will be delightful to which will be delightful to present in report out today. What I'm going to talk about is the improvement work which I've been working on within Cancer Services, with various specialties and with the help from Simon and Neil from the Quality Academy. So the main problem I've been working on is, so as a patient that's diagnosed with cancer, it's important that all actions necessary for my care are completed as soon as possible. So just for background information, we did introduce the daily cancer huddle last year, so that has been going for a year now. Before that, we did do weekly tracking with all specialties, but we found that wasn't as efficient for our cancer patients. So we do that as a daily sort of huddle, which I run every morning. And I meet with about 23 cancer sites, and we review approximately 500 actions in the meeting. It is on Teams, so each area dials in at their specific time slot. Again, it takes approximately 90 minutes in total, and we do review all outstanding actions for patients 2 days or more. That just gives a couple of days for the service lines to action them, but we do get on it pretty prompt, so anything 2 days above we action on. So you can see from the slide here, there's just a sort of a team photo there of myself on the huddle. It's not all of the team, just because they all dial in at different times, but and As you can see on the slide, 10 out of the 23 sites account for approximately 90% of the actions. So they are especially important slides. And Simon's 8-step document at the bottom there, which he's kindly been working on to capture our progress. So our aim is to improve attendance at the Hutto from 83% to 95% and to reduce delays from 3.5 days to 2 days. Next slide, please. So this is the challenges we are facing within the Hutto. So attendance can vary within the Hutto and are dependent on key individuals turning up to the meeting. We tend to focus on today's issues rather than look ahead. We don't look at data over time, so we aren't seeing things improving or getting worse. And I often get emails sent to me afterwards of information, or people tend to email to save time coming to the Hutto, but then it does take longer time after, and it just avoids efficient conversations going on within the Hutto with issues that we need to escalate. So 2 things that I've implemented from this week, and that is standard of work, which I sent out to everyone last Friday to update on what I was implementing this week. So we want everyone to come along to the Hutto on their allocated time slots with updates for their patients, and we want substitutes identified if people are off sick or on holiday. We are adding a production element to the Hutto where we discuss issues around administrator capacity, timely availability of outpatient appointments, theatre capacity, chemotherapy slots, and further treatments to support the process. So one of our biggest aims is we're trying to identify issues earlier so we can solve them, if possible, with more of a forward look. And next slide, please. So attendance improvement is still very early, but this week we have hit up to 95% attendance, all but one area turned up. So that was some good progress this week. You'll see from the graph that we've not reduced action delays just yet. We're still sort of early days, but we will continue to monitor data over time. And we're looking at our daily escalations next. So I tend to identify approximately 14 days, but I want a clear visibility on progress and also think about very senior escalation when needed, again on more of a forward look. My colleagues Lisa and Victoria will also be looking at how the cancer services team organise their work to complete the actions promptly also. So there's 2 key learnings for me. So I've realised that things we've been doing are based on good people first practice, but to have an open mind to improving things further. I do this process daily with my colleagues, and that we collectively have the knowledge and expertise to make things better for us and our patients. And we do have our own cancer services strategic direction, which is on our StaffNet cancer services page, if you wish to have a look at it. That is one of our strategic directions in regards to turning the Hutto into a daily instead of a weekly. And yeah, that is all. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you, Megan. And by the way, I don't think that is all. It's what you're working on is really, really important. So I'll put something in the chat. The patients experiencing these pathways are so respectful of timeliness, and so a few days can make the difference of getting on a list or not. So the fact that you're challenging down to 3.3 days delay is important to you. Absolutely, it's really important to the patients. I know Joe wants to jump in, so Joe, please jump in.
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm very sorry that I was late. I've heard this, I've seen all the work that you're doing, obviously, and it's brilliant. I just wanted to say it's made a massive difference to cancer performance as well. So actually, we know that we're getting it right for a volume of patients and not just a few. So, it's a huge thank you and a huge well done to me. And I think, it will be exemplar good practice for other trusts that are trying to get on top of their performance as well. Thanks, Richard.
Right. No, thank you. And I also want to say a couple of thanks. So Megan, I hope you're feeling really well supported by Neil and Si. So I hope that's working okay. And obviously Callum's, who commissioned the work, has commissioned it. But I just want to do a quick shout out for Si, because he's probably the quiet act. Si, are you visible anywhere on the screen? But if people don't know Si's story, he was the stores manager at Lighthouse, came on secondment to do a bit of training last year, and is on temporary loan as an improvement lead, working right across various topics. So I think he's worked so far, Si, on a huge range, from woodwork to stuff in labs to now helping with cancer work. And it's a credit to you, Si, that you approach the work. So although you're not on a permanent job with us, it's really great to have you on loan from the Lighthouse. So thank you. So well done. Right. So thank you very much. If there are any other questions, please put them in the chat. But this is a slightly unusual one, because we've tried to get Paula on 4 different report outs, but every time we do, she's either clinical or on a night shift or somewhere else. So it's been really challenging. So very kindly, Bryony has done a recording of Paula doing a report out. So will be less chance to interact with this person, but please put questions in the chat, and I think Bryony will try and answer them. So this is Paula's report out. Off you go.
Thanks. I'm going to play it. Can you just put a thumbs up, Richard, that you can hear it when it starts, please? Thank you.
I'm a senior sister on Penrose Critical Care at Derriford. My ambition is to empower critical care staff to enhance the quality of patient care by investing in their emotional well-being, preventing burnout and ensuring that they feel valued and respected, which will ultimately prevent nurse attrition. My challenge is I qualified as a professional nurse advocate, or PNA, in August 2021. So therefore my challenge was to establish the PNA service in line with the CC3N standard operating procedure within critical care by May 2023. So my problem was clinical supervision was very new to nursing, certainly to critical care. We were setting up a whole new service from scratch. We knew the pandemic had taken its toll on our staff and exacerbated long-standing issues within healthcare. It's difficult to measure the problem. We looked at long-term staff sickness, staff survey results, and the general morale on the unit. We needed a regular, reliable service taking into account unpredictable demands of critical care and getting staff away from the clinical area. Time was a big factor due to staffing numbers and the busyness of the unit. The PNA team felt that they needed to increase their skills and experience, especially with increasing staff mental health issues post-pandemic. We needed to increase the awareness of the role in the service. We also needed to ensure that the peer support was given to the PNA team, and we needed to have the PNA hours alongside our current role. So we were asked to provide an additional 15 hours a month for the service as well. So the approach, we used the structured CARTA methodology, which was able to enable me to create a storyboard to address my target condition. After looking at the baseline current condition, I was able to identify barriers and then use the continuous PDSA cycle to test and experiment to make improvements. So as this is a large project with multiple PDSA cycles and improvements, one of the target conditions was to set up group sessions away from the clinical area. We had previously trialled evening sessions before the shift and then online sessions, which were unsuccessful. We then went on to trial changing the structure of the mandatory training days and adding PNA sessions to these days, which was the biggest improvement of all. We can see the increased and sustained number of people attending sessions over the year from when CARTA methodology was put in place and when the PNA sessions commenced. So another improvement change I was trialling was a different uniform for PNA time. It was a smaller change, but had a surprisingly big impact. It highlighted that I was working in a different role to all the staff, my Band 7 colleagues, as well as reminding myself. It ensured that I physically stepped out the office to change. It prompted staff to ask why I was wearing a different uniform, which proceeded to open up restorative conversations. And then we were able to roll out the uniform to the whole PNA team. This shows the impact of the service on the staff and patients, where we asked staff to complete questionnaires post sessions and provide their feedback. So the Response was really positive. It proved that we're able to support increased job satisfaction and better team working and productivity, and that staff felt supported and valued, which would ultimately positively affect patient care. So what I've learned, as you can see, I've had a lot of learning from using the CARTA process, but the thing which really stood out for me was using the structured approach and taking time to slow down and take a step back to look objectively, whereas initially, as this was a large project, I was keen to make a lot of changes all at once.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Paula. And if you go on to the next slide quickly. This is your Purple Belt certificate, and I will get one of these printed and sent to you. So really well done for reaching Purple Belt level. And also just wanted to shout out the fact that you want to get colleagues in your department CATA trained and that you're going to sponsor them, which is brilliant because ultimately that's what we want to come from this. So thank you again.
Thank you, Bryony, for taking the time to do that. And of course, in that process, if people weren't aware, Bryony has been Paula's CATA coach through that process. So well done to Bryony. Paula, Bryony, I was going to ask you a question. What did it feel like coaching such a big, enormous project?
It was a bit daunting at first because obviously I'm still sort of building my own development around CATA itself, but it was good learning as well because it really showed the importance of breaking each step down and looking at each process individually and then testing things and see if it's successful or not. So though it was daunting and it was big, it was really good learning for Paula and myself as well.
And Jackie's put a question in the thing. You put a load of metrics that were really beneficial. Was one of them sickness?
So we've asked for some more like metrics and data around that from I think it's one of the LNLD teams actually, and we haven't got it yet, but we're waiting on it. So I'll be interested to see if it has. And Paula's on 2 weeks leave at the minute, but she's back on Monday, so I'm going to catch up with her and I can ask that and then update.
Thank you very much. And I'll make sure, Jackie, that question does get answered, by the way, so we'll follow that through. So thank you very much for asking it. But well done, Bryony, for both the visual presentation of that. And it feels a bit weird. It's like giving someone an award when they're not here and you have to do it by video. But my congratulations to Paula. And it sounds like it's how you've made somebody simplify maybe a plan and get more out of it than they maybe originally would if they did everything at once.
Yeah, definitely.
Well done. Brilliant. I'm going to move on next slide then. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, sorry, Jackie, you did ask a question. I don't know why I'm echoing about the wellbeing team. We do lots of work, but I think there is some crossover with our teams, but we'll make sure we tie up a bit closer, Jackie. So there obviously is a connection in the work, but certainly the nurse advocates are well connected to the wellbeing team. So we're just coaching one of them. So really well done. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Now, I'm not sure how we introduce this, Kate. Are you talking to it first?
Yep. So hi, I'm Kate. I'm working in Richard's team. I'm one of the SPCs and just wanted to give a quick introduction of the theatre team, and then I'm going to hand over to two members of the team to give you an update on more specific areas that we've been working in. So next slide, please. So this is just an introduction of the team that are working with me down in theatres. So there's me, Paul, Donna and Mitch. Next slide, please. And just a quick overview of the work streams that we're looking at while we're in theatres. So scheduling, patient flow, so looking at the patient's journey from beginning to end, and workforce teams and staff wellbeing and routines of the day specifically within individual pods. And next slide, please. And I'm just going to hand over now to, I'm not sure if it's Paul or Donna next, and they're going to give us some insights in the areas that we've worked so far and some successes that we've had. Thank you.
I think it's me next, Kate. Next slide, please, Bryony. So just to give you, as Kate said, just a quick insight into the work that we've done into gynecology. Next slide, please. So with the help of the new theatre dashboard, we've had a look at the 6-week average of cases per week, cancelled cases, in between case time and cancelled sessions. And during the first 6 weeks in theatres 17 and 18 combined, they've averaged 25 cases per week, 14 cancelled, 7 cancelled sessions and a 17-minute in between case time. Next slide, please. So after numerous visits and meetings with the gynae team, and these are the opportunities that we saw. Success of the prep rooms, a deep dive into the current scheduling process and what we could improve, cancelled patients and the reasons why so many patients are being booked in error, and how the new staff can be brought up to speed within their new role. So Tristan Coe, obviously the Band 7 down in gynae, and Adam Stainer, I've had a look at each surgeon within gynae and the averages for each procedure over the last year, and are using this as a guide for making sure lists are booked effectively. Once the list is booked, it's then confirmed with the surgeon before they sign that off. I've spoke with Tristan. He's going to speak to the service line to look into why so many patients are booked in error. And to put this into some context, so 82 patients were cancelled during May in the first 2 weeks in June, with 24 of those booked in error, which gives us 29%. With the new team members comes training opportunities and their ability to get the new staff to the level required, with this training already being organised by the team themselves. And next slide, please. During the annual closure, the gynae team got together and conducted a 6S audit in their prep rooms. Once they had emptied the rooms, they identified they were massively overstocking, and as a team they produced a minimum maximum stock checklist that would be completed at the end of each day to make sure that the prep room was ready to go for the following morning with the kits needed for the day ahead according to the theatre list. This in turn has had a positive effect on early morning prep and prep in between cases. Next slide, please. So gynae have been putting their huddle board to good use, with the staff putting up team concerns and suggestions to improve the efficiency within their theatres. They've been using their board to let everybody know what went well in the team and what the focus is for the upcoming weeks. These boards are giving the team a chance to voice their ideas and concerns, which will be spoken about with the whole team during the team meeting and weekly huddle. The team have had this week had a preceptee present on an improvement project to the preceptee programme itself, and this has in turn been passed on for the gynae lead to have a look at. Next slide, please. As we can see from the graph, is that with the right scheduling and the ownership being taken by the team, the difference can be massive. I must commend Tristan and Adam for the work they've taken on and the difference it is already having within gynae. So the 6-week average cases has risen from 25 to 30, which is an increase of 20%. And data over the last 6 weeks, which please bear in mind has included the annual closure for maternity. So they've been used in theatre 17 and 18. So they're averaging 30 cases per week, 10 cancelled cases, which is down from 14, 6 cancelled sessions, which is down from 7, and 15-minute average in between case time, which is down from 17. It's been very lovely to have a fully engaged team with ideas themselves on how they can make the patient journey better. And next slide, please. And finally, just the next steps, also within gynae. So as we said, the service line is to investigate the patients booked in error. The idea that's been put forward from the team members themselves of a staff wellbeing champion, the continuing the growth of the improvement huddle, and with the new staff members, a continuous team training. Thank you.
Before we go on to the next presentation, can we just capture any questions around gynae? Would that be so well done, by the way? I think there's a hand up already, Joe.
Yeah, no, thank you. Really helpful. I hadn't clocked that there were that volume of poorly booked patients or inaccurately booked patients. So I'm going to need to pick that up as an urgent action. So I'll pick that up with the care group as well. Thank you for raising that. I'm just interested in fallow list time and whether you're looking at that. So obviously, if there is a particular issue with gynae booking, have we got lots of wasted list space, and where are we with start and finish times? And I love the theatre dashboard, by the way. You know, we're all loving the theatre dashboard.
I'm going to let Paul answer the question first.
I'm sorry, Joe, can you repeat the question, please?
I'm looking at fallow theatre time, so times when theatre is empty and not utilised with patients. So either because we haven't booked properly or because there's no team in there.
I guess also once we've sort of sat down with Tristan and Adam sort of to look into this, it was actually Adam that sort of came back and said he wasn't happy with how they were being booked. So it's something else, that they've kind of taken on themselves to have a look at. And so far we seem to be seeing quite a big difference in it. So we're really hoping that the work that will continue, with the work that Tristan and Adam are doing, this will help everybody out massively.
Okay, I suppose so keen just to understand it because it's the improvement in this is going to be really, really fascinating to see. Is there as we dig down, Richard, and we do the sort of interrogation, what is the sort of root cause behind that? So that's really interesting. Start and finish times. Are we looking at that as part of this as well?
If you like,
I want a pound for every time someone said I'm on mute. We will see. Bear in mind the change in bookings only really impacted the last 2 weeks. We should see we will see the utilisation come up. And just to clarify on our figures, the average wasn't including the extra weekend 19 cases they did over the weekend as well. So it's just Monday to Friday. So I think I think I'm very optimistic that I think the team genuinely themselves recognise they haven't been filling the list as much as they could. So and I think they've changed the booking. So I think we haven't magically suddenly got 5 cases out just from that. I think the booking is the key thing that they've changed, and it'd be nice to see that does continue, and we'll see it in the utilisation and whether they come out of the poorer list or into the top list.
Okay, thank you.
On top of that, I see Tristan from Gynae has got his hand up as well. Tristan?
Yes, all I was going to simply say was actually that when we looked at the 17th of July week, our list actually were mostly finishing about 5:20, 5:30. We still had the occasional late starts, but actually we found that the theatre was being utilised a lot more over the time period, and actually what was left was only probably about 20 minutes, which we weren't able to fit any other additional cases in. But no, we did notice a great big improvement.
Thank you for that, Tristan. I mean, our target is 85% theatre utilisation. I think in Gynae's at 75%. So with what you've said, it looks like we've got the opportunity to crack that.
Oh yeah, no, and what we've been doing, so now we've got the average surgical times when we're doing the list previews. We're looking at that utilisation period of time and adding more cases on, using the average surgical times now as a bit of a guide, and we're trying to aim for about 90% utilised. And then as we get more operations, we'll change some things. Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
And I just want to say before we move on to Postbridge, a big thank you to Tristan. I put it in the chat. I think he's been a star in terms of positively getting on with stuff with the full service line, not just us. So really well done. I think it's great. So I think next is Donna and Postbridge.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Ozan, and I'm an improvement lead at work, and I work within the Quality Academy. I've been very, very privileged in this theatre programme to be spending some time down on Postbridge. It is our planned surgical assessment and recovery unit. It has 34 chairs and 3 clinical rooms. It has 19 day case trolleys. 12 of those beds are accounted for within the 23-hour unit. There's approximately 46 staff covering a 24/7 service, which has developed over the last 2 years. The team discharge approximately 60 patients a month. It's a very busy area. The aim of this project was to understand the delays within Postbridge and how they impact on our patients. The target was to improve the patient and the staff experience on Postbridge. Have the next slide, please, Bryony. What our patients say, we conducted a patient survey, and it showed that there was only 37.5% of our patients are receiving Postbridge information leaflets prior to admission. This does cause anxieties because they have fear around not knowing what to expect. However, that said, it was massively positive. Some of the comments made by the patients were a fantastic service, can't fault it. Excellent treatment, and everybody has been excellent. There were a few things that were highlighted with regards to on arrival. So people will be asked to come in at 7 o'clock and 7:15. So most people turn up 10 minutes early for appointment. So if you can see in the picture down the corridor, they'll all be queuing up. You can have up to 25 to 30 patients there between 7 and 5:07 in the morning. One of the concerns were that there wasn't enough seating area. So Julie, the ward manager down on Postbridge, is aware of that and now will be acting to look at replacing some of the chairs that were taken out because of COVID. Next slide, please, Bryony. So what our staff say, so we asked the staff how they felt. It's a very busy area and often they feel blamed because it's obviously labelled as post-bridge delay. So they've requested that the surgical team be respectful of the space as they review patients in a timely manner. And if you look at the pictures, you can see 8 o'clock in the morning, just how busy it can be down there. So Postbridge will be feeding 14 theatres and patients will be arriving from 7 o'clock in the morning, and by 7:45, you've got 14 theatres worth of surgeons and anaesthetists coming down to review their patients that are first on their list. So it can get very congested. And staff just feel sometimes that they are not listened to, that they feel that they cannot change the fact that staff. So it's very important to include that because Julie again is working very hard with the team now, and we've implemented an improvement huddle board so that the staff can voice their concerns. Can I have the next slide, please, Bryony? So myth busting the post-bridge delay. So a snapshot taken on the 13th of June was not uncommon to any other day on the unit. Every day has the same challenges. So are we getting the right patient through the door at the right time? So when you look at this little graph, on this particular day, there were 34 patients on the list. There were 14 theatres running. So the expectation is that those first 14 would be 7 o'clock. But at 7 o'clock, only 8 out of those 14 were asked to come in the TCI time for seven. But however, within that time, there were 12 other patients that were coming in that weren't first on the list. So if we break that down, we've got 8 patients that we are now going to have a look at. Next slide, please, Bryony. If we break down those 8 patients that should have been first on the list and should have been ready to go to theatre at Happer State, 3 out of the 8 were transferred to theatre between 8:35 and 8:40. So actually only missed the 8:30 target by 10 minutes. But these were circumstances that were due to following a surgical review. The first patient on the list was cancelled and the second patient was pulled forward, and Postbridge team deal very proactively in making sure then if in the time when there's changes that they make sure that they get the next patient ready. First on the list review TCI time. So the patient was actually asked to come in at 7:45. So the reality and expectation of getting them ready for Happer State is not possible. Another patient was very anxious and the surgical team requested a pre-med. 2 patients were cancelled on the morning of. One was because the operation was not required, and the second was due to the patient being added to the Blue Spear list at 10 o'clock the night before. They had had no pre-op workup, and the team required further investigation. Second patient, 2 patients were delayed due to requiring further diagnostics, and the order of the list was changed due to emergency. Again, circumstances beyond control. Can I have the next slide, please, Bryony? There are some easy changes that are within Postbridge's ability to make some changes. One of them is looking at making sure that the standard work and the expectation around patients being transferred back to them post-op have their e-discharges done. So there was a drive towards asking the clinicians to ensure that this was done, and we did a pre-request. As you can see, only 3 patients on the 26th had their e-discharges completed, where after the push to get them completed, we collected some more data and that went up. So it increased by 33%. But unfortunately, this morning we did another snapshot and that's not being sustained. So we need to do some more work around how can we make sure that that is sustained. Postbridge are also now proactively pulling patients from the SAU to ensure that there's the best use of the pathway in the unit. Can I have the next slide, please, Bridie? Another easy change, which again was within Postbridge's control, was in the way in which they quickly move through that line in the corridor in the morning. So one of the issues that we have is that we pull off the IPM list. That doesn't always correspond with the Blue Spear list. So now we look at the order of the theatre and they actually pull the patient by name. So we know that by pulling from the IPM list was only 69% successful, but yet pulling from by calling the patient by name increased it by 20%. Can I have the next slide, please, Bryony? So more complex changes, understanding what causes the delays, the TCI letters, patient information leaflet. So currently there is no standard applied and patients may attend too early, too late, or not prepared due to not receiving the correct information. That again is a bigger piece of work. Daily changes to the order of the list. Changes can and are made at last minute. Some of them are unavoidable, and the staff on the unit do a fantastic job at dealing with those as and when they happen. We could benefit from maybe there being a daily list review. There are big differences every day between the IPM list and the Blue Spear. They don't coordinate. So you may have 29 patients on the IPM list and you look on Blue Spear and there might be actually 34. So we are doing some work and we're meeting next week with Liam and Julie and Sue Johnson, looking at how we could probably use Blue Spear live within Postbridge, which is also a great opportunity for Postbridge because they'll be able to put on the tracking live. They'll be able to inform theatres live when the patient is ready for collect. It would take some of the pressure off theatre staff coming down to collect patient not being ready, then having to go back. So if there was a way of communicating that direct to theatres, patient ready, or if there is a patient delay, what the delay is. It may be because the surgical team is still in there. It may be because the patient has been given a pre-med. There's various reasons. So hopefully that will improve the communication and the flow between other areas. The 24-hour pathways are currently reviewing the different specialities using the pathway and the cohesive working across the departments. So it's sharing the data that's captured. There is currently a lot of data on tracking on Blue Spear that just sits there. And I think what we've seen is that it just sits there. So I think we need to capture some of that data and learn from it. Can I have the next slide, please, Bryony? Yeah, so that's the opportunities, learning from the data collection, easy changes that we can make that are within control within Postbridge, but because it is such a complex area and there's so many specialities, it's how do we manage those more complex changes, more cohesive working, and enabling a culture of quality improvement in our teams. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
So thank you, Donna, and I know you were trying to get the most simplicity out of the slides as possible, so thank you very much for trying. Just a couple of questions for me, a couple of key opportunities already highlighted and tested. How do we make them, what's the thoughts on making them sustainable? And by the way, Wendy, I know you're on the call. If you've got a view on this, I'd really appreciate it as well, but how do you think we sustain the first calling for patients and the work that's being done on e-discharge?
I think we need to have a conversation with the service lines and to understand actually what that impact has. How do we ingrain it into a standard work that's every day? And it is an everyday struggle to keep having to chase people. It's about ownership and where does that sit? how we can be a more cohesive team across the board. It's not just Postbridge's delay, it's not just recovery's responsibility, and it doesn't sit with theatre, it sits with everybody.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So is there any other questions from anybody else? So obviously still some work in progress in Postbridge, but a really important area, which if we can get it right, and by the way, in spite of all those things, I think on most days, they get most of the first on this ready, despite all those things. And so all credit to them, but obviously making it easier rather than hard work might mean there's more attention to detail. So that's what we want to get done. So any questions from Joe? You all right with that? Yeah, fine.
Really good. Sorry, it's on my big screen. Really good. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much.
Very much.
And thank you, Donna and Wendy and Julie and Sue Johnson, who run the team. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Next topic, even. Oh, sorry, Donna, just pause and take a deep breath. All right. I'm going to just help Donna out a little bit. Really high level. We do not need to read the slides. All right. So let's just make sure we just give the high level meaning of the slides. It'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Actually, I'm going to introduce. This is one of my passions. This is what I love. Absolutely enjoy being involved with the preceptorship programme. But I want to make sure that Bethany, are you on the call?
Hello. Yes.
Hi, Bethany. I'm going to hand over to Bethany, and she's going to introduce the preceptorship programme. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name's Bethany Wilson-Chapman, and I'm the lead educator for preceptorship at UHP. And I'm here to talk to you today about how we've integrated quality improvement into our preceptorship programme and why this is important for our trust. The preceptorship programme includes all registered nurses, new registered nurses, midwives, nursing associates, international nurses, ODPs, and from September, radiographers. Therefore, the preceptorship programme is a vast platform to target our newest workforce who have fresh new eyes for quality improvement. During the programme, the quality improvement team run a session on day one to increase the knowledge of preceptees' understanding of the PDSA cycle. And following on from this, on day 6, they present a 5-minute presentation on their chosen QI project plan following the PDSA cycle, with the quality team present. The NMC principles of preceptorship focus on 5 core themes: organisational culture and preceptorship, quality and oversight of preceptorship, preceptee empowerment, preparing preceptors for their supporting role, and the preceptorship programme. These are incorporated into the National Preceptorship Framework for Nursing. We incorporate QI into our preceptorship with a focus on the theme of organisational culture. By having preceptees learn about the importance of quality improvement and how this is carried out, we're helping to begin breeding a culture within our trust of embracing change and quality improvement. We also tackle the theme of quality, ensuring that our preceptees always strive for gold standard care. For example, we have had quality improvement projects from preceptees regarding hand washing, infection control, and medication safety, which reflects that preceptees through the quality improvement project are focusing on high quality care. We also tackle the theme of preceptee empowerment, as we are not only empowering preceptees to think of quality improvement ideas, but also working closely with the quality improvement team in order to implement some of these projects. This shows to our new workforce that they do have a voice and that their ideas can be taken seriously by the Trust, which empowers them as they continue in their career with UHP and enables them to feel valued, potentially leading to greater retention of our staff. All of these themes which I've discussed are essential for carrying out the NHS long-term plan, One Devon's 5-year integrated care strategy, and the NHS people plan of improving quality, working differently, and developing our workforce, ensuring quality patient care for now and in the future. This has recently been reflected in UHP being awarded the interim quality mark for our preceptorship programme for our work in aligning with the gold standard of the national framework and putting preceptee development at the heart of our trust. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Beth. Thank you very much. Can I have the next slide, please, Bryony? So since the beginning of this year, we have successfully delivered quality improvement in healthcare sessions to 181 preceptees through the preceptorship programme. And at the end of their programme, preceptees are invited to present their own improvement project. This is a really clever, next slide, please, Bryony. This is a fun and interactive session, and it's a great way for them to share their learning, as preceptees represent all areas across the trust. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Laura Martin. She was previously a preceptee, is currently working on Stonehouse ward. And I just think this is a fantastic opportunity for Laura to share her project. Are you on the call, Laura?
My name's Laura. I'm a staff nurse on Stonehouse ward, and this was my quality improvement project that I presented to Donna and Bethany. I racked my brain for weeks trying to think about something that would be really like hard hitting and amazing and like really would excite people whenever I presented it. And I came up with nothing. I'm not a very creative person, obviously. But my change was a simple one. It was every morning when we come in, we get all the linen out, we start changing the beds, we kick the patients out of bed. All the beds are completely renewed, and all the linen is put into the laundry and sent off for launder. And my question was why? For a lot of the patients on the Stonehouse, they are very independent. They, you know, aren't soiling the sheets. The sheets are actually fairly clean. We're not changing our beds at home every day. Why are we needing to do it in the workplace? The impact of the change is the cost. Hugely cost saving to the trust to not be changing the beds every day. Environmental, I have seen sheets that have, you know, holes in them from the amount of times they've been laundered. They're threadbare, they're thin, and time for our patients, time for our staff. So next slide, please, Bethany. Okay. Bryony, sorry. So this is my initial PDSA cycle. So how we implemented the change was we spoke about it in the morning huddles, in the safety briefs. We put it on the actual physical safety brief. And if I was in, explained why we were doing it, opened up to any questions. You know, did anybody, you know, want to know anything more than what I was saying about why we were making the change? And then we just went ahead and we started doing the change. We had one slight stumbling block 1 week in that our ward went through a deep clean. So any data that we were collecting was completely thrown out by the fact that perfectly clean beds, perfectly clean bays were suddenly having all their beds stripped off, and all that laundry was being sent away, and the bay was being completely deep cleaned. And that went throughout the whole 5 bays that we have and all the cubicles within that week. Everything was thrown out. So actually the week after was a really good starting point again to see what that change impact would be. Donna also contacted linen services to see if we could get actual facts and figures regarding, was our linen, you know, cost decreasing, was the amount of linen we were sending out decreasing, and we also introduced in the sluice paper charts for staff members to fill out how many bags each time they were taking out to the linen room, and sort of measure it that way. We still are awaiting any facts and figures from linen services regarding actual numbers, but they have said to us that they can provide those for us. So that is something that we are still waiting for, but hopefully should show an impact to the change. And overall, the change has been really, really well received by the team. There have been a few challenges. You just go to the next slide, please, Bryony. Breaking habits aren't easy. You know, some people have fully embraced it. They're like, oh my goodness, it means we've got less to do in the morning, or, you know, we can do more patient care. We can put more focus into, you know, actually helping our patients have a wash, getting them out to have full-on showers and stuff like that. But some people do still have that tunnel vision of must make the bay look lovely, must make the bay look tidy, and we have to try and break that habit. That's something we're still working on. One of the feedback points I got yesterday, whenever I came in, I said, you know, I'm presenting today, is there anything anybody wants me to say about it? Was that they've noticed there's more linen available when they need it. And I was like, great, we don't have any figures, but I mean, if that's a noticeable change, then that's fantastic. We didn't really have a chance to do a pre-change audit on the ward. We kind of just went in all guns blazing. However, the amount of bags that we are sending out to laundry is reducing week on week. If patients have challenged it in any way, you know, oh, you're not changing my bed today, we explain why, and they're usually entirely happy with that. If they want us to change the bed, that's fine. we have no hard and fast rules on, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we change the beds or anything like that, because that just would not be sustainable. We admit patients every day, we discharge patients every day. There's no set routine in that way that would work. So we very much leave it up to our staff discretion and the patient's preference. And so far, so good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. It has had a massive impact. I think there was one week where you recorded a massive drop in your linen sacks. You had 138 one week, and then the following week it reduced it down to 77 sacks going into the laundry. So it's made a massive impact with regards to environmental sustainability. We got less lorries driving up to Exeter. The reduction in washing powder, water used. It's huge. It's fantastic. So hopefully when we actually solidify it, I'd love for you to be able to come back and present it from start to finish, and actually with the figures around how well you've done. Thank you very much.
That's okay. I saw a question from Jackie, which was a very common question.
Thank you, Laura. You've got a question from Joe, and there's one from Jackie which I want to go to. Joe.
Brilliant, great for the green energy plan, so well done. Are we just doing it on Stonehouse Ward?
At the moment. So what we needed to do, Joe, was to actually put the project together, present it as a full project, and then hopefully it will be rolled out across the trust.
Just as a balancing metric, it's just a question, and I completely appreciate everything you said about the sheets clean and why do we do it, and it is habit. We've done it since I started my nurse training, and I won't tell you how long ago that was. But is there any balancing metric around infection control and whether we see an increase in MRSA or anything like that? Nothing coming up.
No, as long as the beds are cleaned, the actual the bedding can be put back on. If it's infectious patient, then there'd be a side room, then that would be managed as per infection control. Yeah,
brilliant. Thank you.
But thank you very much.
Laura, can I just say really well done? Thank you for the work. Really great. Is there any more presentations from preceptees? Donna's that one.
That's it. Thank you for today.
Right, we just moved it. Sorry, and well done everybody. By the way, it's also great to see the preceptee program running up 181 people now. So it's really great to see that going forward. So I hope everyone's enjoyed today's presentations. Quite a lot of difference. So some really clear, definite steps forward. Some still with work to do in some of the areas. So they're not all quite not all improvement is neat and tidy sometimes. But what a lovely range from cancer to nurse advocates, to gynae theatres, to post-bridge flow, to preceptees doing novel things. And I really love your question, Jackie, about the simple act of thinking why and asking why as a driver for change. I thought it's a really lovely statement. We will be back in September, and I think in September we've got hopefully some of the length of stay work coming through. Also, one of our registrars turned consultant getting her practice coach certificate, and I can't quite read the bottom one. I can't see who it is. Sorry, hopefully someone else on practice coach as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today's session and look forward to seeing you all in September. Thank you very much.